Entrepreneur with Vrunda Bansode. And I said today I'm butchering everybody's name, so please forgive me for that. And we've got Gautam Balijepalli. I think I did kind of justice to that, Gautam, or no? No, okay. Who's the co-founder and the CEO of Kouzina Food Tech. And Vrunda, of course, as you know, is the author of this book. So a lot of this time we talk about, is there like a scientific approach to entrepreneurship? Is there something that says, oh, you know what, this idea will be kind of the hit? How do we understand entrepreneurship? And especially as many, many more young, and we see the age going lower and lower as people are becoming entrepreneurs. So I am on my, I think, fourth startup. So I would say it's grit and drive, but can you even measure it? Don't know. So today we have our partners with us. We've got Nitin from Orion Square. They're focused on creating youth champions of change. They bring youth into the fold of sustainable development goals, inclusion, holistic development, and societal consciousness. They partner with the UN on several initiatives, and they've won many awards, and they've been featured regularly for their path-breaking work on SDGs and youth. I am Sukirti Gupta. I am the co-founder of Sipping Thoughts, which is a multi-platform media company. It was set up keeping in mind the tagline, Real Women, Real Thoughts. We wanted to create a no judgment platform and create a network of women for women, and of course, all the men that have supported us. Sipping Thoughts reaches to 4 million women on a monthly basis. And today, I think the big question is, and I think you guys probably get sick and tired of hearing that. What are you going to be when you grow up? I like that Arvind Kejriwal, he said, I'm going to be a good person, because we're tired of hearing the answers: doctor, engineer, chef, musician, IAS officer. But that's a question still now adults do not get tired of asking. But maybe it's time to recognize that actually entrepreneurship is also a profession where people invent, they innovate, they sell, they barter, and they build. Entrepreneurs are actually changing the way that we live. So today we've got Vrunda, who has written her new book, Become a Junior Entrepreneur. And this session is going to give every kid a hands-on crash course in entrepreneurship, from shifting through ideas to how you can actually run a business. We've got two special guests with us. We've got Gautam, who is the co-founder and CEO of Kouzina Food Tech, and Nitin Dhawan, who's a serial entrepreneur and co-founder of Orion Square. And I myself, I'm like I said, I'm on my fourth startup. So yes, I've had many failures and one success, and I'm right now working on my fourth one. We're also going to hear some elevator pitches from you. So we'll see how your ideas stack up. And with that, welcome all of you. Welcome Vrunda, welcome Gautam, welcome Nitin to Sipping Thoughts. We're very excited to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for
Vrunda, tell us, before we get started, what gave you this idea for writing this book?
So actually the idea came from kids, working with kids. So I have kids to thank for this book actually. So I have been an entrepreneur myself. I used to run an education sector venture, and we were doing experiential education for children. Because as you know, somehow in our school curriculum, we are still very book driven. What's there in the book is what we try to learn. And I was very passionate about giving experiences to children, because somehow in my own learning journey, I think I have learned a lot through experiences, more than any classroom could teach me. So I wanted to get that experience for children. And that's how the venture came into being. And we were working with many schools. We were also delivering experiential science education. And also, I think this came from one of the schools saying science is something that's great, but what about, say, things like financial literacy? Because if you look at our school curriculum today, one thing that is kind of missing is, and I mean, it's important for all of us, because eventually all of us have to deal with money. But in our school curriculum, we never really learn about money. We never really learn about economics. And, that so many children showed interest in understanding it more. Although they were doing, let's say, a course in robotics, but they were already interested in saying, can I take this idea further? So I have developed this cool new robot that can go around cleaning the floor, for example. And they would actually build this model. And the next thing that they wanted to do was, now can I do something more with this? Can I set up a business? Can I make more of these robots? And will people buy it from me? So I could see that they were actually interested in incubating these ideas, taking them further, developing them further, and then trying to see if they can make something cool out of it, maybe a venture of their own. So we said, why don't we then also try this out? So we actually started it as an incubation sort of a course. So you come up with an idea, make something, and we will give you the next steps to try out, going to market with that idea. So that's how slowly we started developing this course. And over a period of many years, I think I kind of delivered this course. So worked with hundreds and hundreds of children in multiple different formats, in schools, in different centers during summer vacation as entrepreneurship projects. And so there was a lot of that learning. And what I realized is, given the interest that children today have in understanding entrepreneurship, maybe this needs to go to more number of children, because in my batches I could accommodate maybe like 10-15 children at a time. And that's when Penguin and I started talking about the idea of converting this into a book. And fortunately for me, Penguin and me and another co-author of mine had already collaborated on another book called Become a Junior Inventor, which was all about, this experiential tinkering with science stuff and making cool new things. So we said, keeping to that theme of becoming a junior inventor, why don't we call this Become a Junior Entrepreneur? And that's how the book came about. And I do really think that entrepreneurship is a logical next step in your journey of inventiveness. And there is a lot of similarity in becoming being inventive as well as entrepreneurial, because both of these, in some ways, I would say, are muscles that you can develop only by exercising them. So there is no real other way of learning these skills. You have to tinker with things to become an inventor. You have to actually go out and start doing things to become an entrepreneur. So we said, okay, why don't we kind of bring those learnings together in a book format? And that's how this book came into being. So this is a book called Become a Junior Entrepreneur now.
So you're already leading to my second question before I turn it over to you. What makes a good entrepreneur? Because everybody today says, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss.
I think it's a difficult answer to give, because in today's call, if you see, when you were introducing, we already met 3 entrepreneurs, right? You yourself, and we have Nitin, and we have Gautam, and each one of you is running a very different type of a business. Also, as a personality, as a person, all of you probably have your own traits. So I think one important thing to realize is entrepreneur is not one stereotype. So you don't necessarily have to be a type of a person to become a successful entrepreneur. And I think this came up in some of the other chats and conversations that I did as well. And I said, so it's not dependent on whether you are from tech background or not, whether you are young, old, man, woman, boy, girl, none of that matters. What matters is, are you able to marry thinking and doing? So thinking part of entrepreneurship is where you have to come up with your ideas and you have to have conviction in your ideas that I will make this happen. But just thinking is not enough. The most important thing is you go ahead and actually do it. So entrepreneur is a person who brings, I think, ideas and execution together. So anybody who, and it's not necessary that every time your idea has to be earth-shatteringly different. There are many businesses today where it's a simple idea, or it's an idea that has been done many times, but you just execute it in a very different way, and you execute it in a much better way than what was done before. So I think this ability to bring good ideas and execution together makes a good entrepreneur.
Well, thank you for that. And I hand it over to you, Vrunda.
Thank you so much. And welcome, everybody. Very glad to be here. Thank you so much to Sipping Thoughts for organizing this session today. And I'm very glad to have 2 fantastic guests here. We also see a great, spectrum of entrepreneurship. Because many children ask, if I want to, let's say, become a social change entrepreneur, what do I do? And is that even a form of entrepreneurship? Also, many children ask questions like, I just have this small idea of, I'm very good at making cupcakes. Is that even a good enough business idea? So I think today we have a really good balance. And I hope that children who are part of today's session will have many learnings from here and fun learnings, I hope. So we'll try to make it as much fun as possible. I think to begin with, since the session is starting with the book, let me talk a little bit about how you can use this book. I already spoke about how this book came into existence, which was again basically prompted by children. So very, very thankful to children who like to ask questions, because through your questions, I learned what you want to know and all the answers are in this book. So what does this book have of startups? And these are the startups that you all know of. So you have startups like Wildcraft, because I know some of you probably have Wildcraft bags, and you know Wildcraft jackets, you know the outdoor gear that Wildcraft has. There is a story about Book My Show, because if you're going to watch movies, I'm pretty sure don't stand in a queue anymore to buy tickets. Most famous Indian startup called Flipkart, the one that we call the big $1 billion startup out of India. Then there are, of course, the stories of Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, because you all use it. So I have tried to make the book very relatable. So these stories of entrepreneurs and their startups and their business ideas are there to tell you how you can think through your ideas. And in each of these stories, you will find something that you can kind of think about more. I wouldn't say you can just do it the way they did it, because again, going back to the basic ideas of entrepreneurship, every idea is different. And as an entrepreneur, when you start, it's your idea. So, really speaking, what you do with it is going to be your story. So, it's never going to be the case that you just do what Facebook did, or you just did what, let's say, Chai Point does, or any other shop or any other business does. And it doesn't work like that. So, how does it work? Right? So, what we have tried to do in this book is to give you sort of a roadmap. As you can see, the content outline is like that, where let's say you start with ideas. And I'm sure all of you have great ideas. When I used to run this program in schools, I could see many times that many of you have a really good understanding of some problem that you face in your day-to-day life or your friends face. For example, one of the startups in the school that children actually ran for 1 year was after school snacks. They said, so this particular school is a little far away from the city, and therefore there are no snack shops or anything else outside the school. And what children realized is many of their friends used to stay back for after school activities in the school. And obviously, you have finished your lunch box, you have finished your snack box, so you're hungry. You still have one more piano class left or football match left, you're hungry. So, what do? So, these children actually started an after school snack service in the school. They ran it as a venture very successfully, because they could identify that need really well, being in the shoes. They themselves wanted something to eat before their after school classes, right? So this is how you think of ideas. What are the problems around you? How can you solve it? And that may give birth to an idea. Sometimes it may not be a problem, it may be something that you're really, really good at. For example, one of the other student startups was making personalized gifts using photos, because this person was very good with making of things, was very good with Photoshop. So other children could give him photos and say, okay, I want to create like a funny cat out of this person's photo and also get it printed on a mug, because I want to give this as a birthday gift. So personalized gifts. So that person was able to use his skill, and that's how ideas can come to you. So if you just really sit back and think about what you're good at, what are some of the things that people around you may want or may like, that's where your ideas can be born. Now, many times you will get, some people get hundreds of ideas and then they are very confused. So which one of these should I pick? Because I feel like I also want to become, car designer. At the same time, maybe I also want to become a shoe designer. And I also want to become this. So how do you figure out which idea it is that you want to pursue right now? So I think I have tried to give like a questionnaire in the book, but to give you a brief idea, think about what is it that you can execute maybe in the next 3 months. Maybe starting a car factory because you don't like any of the cars and you think that you can design the coolest car may not be the best thing to do right now. Maybe when you grow up, you can, but today, what can you do? Right? Maybe do you want to do makeovers of Hot Wheels cars? Or do you want to make toy cars for people? Do you want to make magnetic cars? Do you want to make something tinkering with electronics? And do you want to make cool new remote control cars for your friends? So think of things that you can do today with the skills that you have, something that you are able to sell immediately because you know the kind of people that will buy that. So those are some of the, I would say, more interesting ways to start because you can actually get experience rather than just dream about it. You can actually start doing things. So that's how you can pick an idea to work on. What do you do next? So now you have an idea. You have to really think about, so what is this product? What is this service? Now I have taken a simple example of, let's say, a lemonade stand in this book. It may be cupcakes, it may be lemonade, simple business ideas like that. So your product idea has to be clear. You have to figure out how you are going to sell it. Who will buy it? What are you going to call it? So a lemonade, if you just call it lemonade, is a little boring, right? So how do you create a brand name? What do you call your product? For example, if you called your lemonade, it's a funky lemonade. And then you had different flavors which usually are not available. Let's say you made colorful lemonade, pink lemonade and blue lemonade, and you called it funky lemonade. And you had all these different flavors, different colors. Maybe it becomes a great birthday party drink. And that's where, you get a lot of orders from your school friends and your other friends. So that's how you think about how you can actually convert your idea into a business. And what do you need for that business? You need to have a product. You need to have customers. And what are these customers going to give you? Money, right? So the next important part is understanding what is this money part of business. So how do you start? Now, even when you start your business, you're going to need some little tiny money. Even if it is as simple as making lemonade, maybe you need to buy, sugar, salt, lemons. You need to figure out glasses or some kind of packaging for your product. You need to do some marketing. Maybe you need to create a poster. You need to create a website. So you will need some money. Now that money, which is called seed capital in the world of business, where is that going to come from? Typically, when we ran the program in schools, we allowed the students to borrow some money from their parents. But if there are parents who are attending today's session, please be very stingy in the money that you give to your students, because that's how the real world is. No entrepreneur is ever going to have unlimited, pockets. So even if you're borrowing money from your parents, I would say about 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees. So you have to negotiate with your parents as to what is an acceptable amount. Not just that, make sure what your returning plan is going to be. So parents need to ensure that that plan is in place. Are these students going to pay you some interest? Are they going to return your money, let's say in 1 year's time, 2 years' time? Because that's how the real world of entrepreneurship works. And I think the real entrepreneurs on the call today will definitely, I can see them nodding because that's just how the world works. These are important life skills. And to tell you some funny stories, because of this money limit that we put on students, it actually became more fun for them. So I had this interesting experience where one of our student groups was setting a venture, which was selling all kinds of very, I would say, innovative nacho chip dishes. So their main raw material was always these chips. So they had to really buy these chips in kilos and kilos. Sounds fun, I know, when you get to buy chips in kilos and kilos. But because they were trying to do this as a business, not simply to snack on it by themselves. So earlier, these students, they said, ma'am, when we used to buy chip packets, we never even looked at the price. Go buy, eat, that's it. But now we are so conscious. I know there is a wholesaler who will give me chips 5 rupees cheaper than what I can find in the next neighborhood shop. That shop is far away, 10 kilometers away. But I'm going to go there because I need to buy, and I need to buy in bulk, lots of kilos. My profitability is going to be very different if I buy it from that person. And not just that, the students really enjoyed bargaining with that wholesaler, walking through the entire market to find the best wholesaler who was giving them the best quality of chips at the cheapest price. So these are good adventures to look for, right? That's how you learn how the world of entrepreneurship works. So I encourage all of you to therefore work within these limits of having limited money to begin with, but then earn your money, right? So when you actually start making your product, selling your product, you're going to make lots of money. So to give you some example, in many of these programs that I used to run in the school, this was a year-long program. So the students used to actually run their venture for 1 year and in groups of 4 or 5, because running a business also requires a team. So it's always fun to do it with your friends rather than trying to do everything on your own. So these groups, on an average, every year made at least about 10,000 or more in profits alone, which was after returning the capital that they borrowed from their parents. And that's a good amount of money along with your school to earn. But more importantly, the learnings that you get in terms of making your product, selling your product, creating a brand for your own business, you create your own advertising, your own posters. I think all of those experiences are great amount of fun. And these are all the kinds of experiences that we talk about in this book, because marketing for any new business is very important. So how do you set up your own website? How do you set up social media accounts for your business? I know all of you, and I think Sukiti and I were discussing this earlier. I'm pretty sure every child on today's call is probably already much better at Instagram than any of us. And that's a great advantage that you all have. So use it. Of course, I have also spoken about the dangers of social media in this book and how you should only use it safely. But at the same time, these are all the marketing channels that you need to use for your business building. There is social media, there is website. More importantly, there is this network of your family and friends. So how do you start from there? The network that you have close access to, and then from there on, how do you actually grow your customer base? How do you build your business? During all of this, because money is like the lifeblood of your business, you're also keeping track of how much you're spending, how much you're earning. So a little bit in the book we have covered also about how do you keep track of your income, of your expenses, what is profit, what is loss, how do you figure out when your business is doing well. So all of those concepts have been explained in the book as well. And I think the last bit that we have in the book, so in terms of once you have a venture which you have set up, you're running it at a stable stage, also being a socially responsible business. And I think Nitin here probably will give us much better insight into it. But today, I think all of us are very conscious of what we do, what we consume, how we consume, right? So, for example, even if you're running a small, simple business like lemonade, do you really want to use disposable plastic glasses? Maybe not. I'm very sure that all of you are already aware of the dangers of using one-time use disposable plastic glasses that you use for 10 seconds of lemonade drinking, and then you throw away the glass, and that glass is going to remain there maybe for I don't know how many hundreds of years. We don't want to be that, right? So while designing your business, while just putting these building blocks of the business together, if you're already thinking about what makes a good business, and by good, what I mean is not just profitable. Profitable is great, of course, because businesses need to make money, but at the same time, also being conscious of the environment around you, being conscious of people around you, be good to people, be good to environment. How do you build that sort of a business? Because that will give you a lot of satisfaction, right? And those are the real learnings. So that's what the book is about. So any of you who are interested can go and pick up this book. This is published by Penguin Random House under their Puffin imprint and is available across all major booksellers, online, offline. So you can pick up a copy. And I think today we also have some exciting pitches, and some kids are actually getting a copy of this book as well. So I'm very glad to hear, because they already have some idea that they are pitching. I hope the book will also help them take that idea forward. And hopefully all of you will be able to have your own takeaway from the book. I wouldn't say that entrepreneurship is exactly the same journey for everybody. Even if there are parents on the call today, I think the book will help you guide your child through this journey. Because like I said, this has come out of my experience of running this program with many, many children. So teachers, educators, parents, anybody can use this book to help their children through this entrepreneurial experimentation. I know many of you probably think at this age, are they really going to become entrepreneurs? But that mindset of trying different things, owning your decisions, doing things, building that mindset is really, really important. That entrepreneurial mindset is what is critical.
Vrunda, I'm going to ask you a question there because that has also come up. Parents, I mean, especially when we talk about them, and the big thing that they think, well, abhi to school mein raho, you have your whole life to become an entrepreneur and do a business. So people actually then, even if you have a great idea, they treat it as an experiment. How do you convince your parents that yes, you actually have a great idea and that they should give you that seed capital or others to give you that seed capital?
I think that proof of pudding is an execution, because I mean, you can start with a very small capital. I mean, I think even real entrepreneurs do it like that, right? What you initially create is just a prototype of your idea, and you run it in a small way with maybe a few people, few early customers. If you get a positive feedback, I think then you can go back and convince your parents or anybody else to support you further. But that first prototype, I think, is really important. And every entrepreneur has to kind of, go through that scrappy building in the beginning. So I think that's just how it works, and it works well. So it doesn't have to be like a big bang launch on day one. It can start small and then pick up pace.
Fantastic. Great.
Are there any other questions on the chat?
Isha is also asking a question, and I think
Yeah.
if you can read that, but I will ask her to unmute if we want to take her question right now. Let me just find her.
May I just add to what Vrunda said to why entrepreneurship now?
Sure, please.
It's what Vrunda already shared. This entrepreneurship is a muscle, and it's a muscle which needs to be practiced. So if you start to develop this muscle at an early age, it becomes a well-developed muscle which will be of good use when you grow up. This is also what students should be telling their parents. It's a muscle. We want to develop that muscle.
Yeah, I think in a way, like, how we play sports from a young age, and that's how we become, we develop physically, because playing sports, being physically active, all of those things are important. Similarly, for this mindset, which does not fear failure, for example, or is able to bounce back from any setbacks that you have, or that resilient mindset, which we all talk about as part of 21st century skills, adaptable, curious, able to learn. That mindset comes from doing things, and not just, it's something that you learn only by doing. And therefore, I think, like sports, like how sports builds your physical fitness, this probably builds your mental and other types of fitness. So very important.
So Isha's question, and I will just paraphrase it. She wants to write her own book, which is named The Student's Story. She wants to tell all the things that are going wrong and what they should do. But the question on her mind is, she'll write the book, but where should she go to give, and how should she sell the book and let every child have it?
So I think if the idea, Isha, is that you want more people to hear what you think, book is probably not the only platform today. I mean, you have so many other fantastic platforms thanks to the online age. You can write a blog, because you don't need necessarily a publisher. There are many platforms which are self-published platforms. In fact, even books can be self-published today. But blogs is a fantastic example. I know your age group probably writes and likes to read nuggets more than long form books or content. I wish even my book could have been, in those short form nuggets. But anyway, you can do podcasts. You can have a blog of your own. So you can use all these other channels as well. And like I said, book also you can self-publish, because getting a book to go to publishers and getting publishers to accept is a longish process, right? Because they each publisher has their own sort of areas that they work in, their preferences, their catalogs for the year are already in place. So it's not easy to say that even if the book is good, sometimes the publishers are not able to accommodate. But there are other channels and platforms that you can definitely explore in addition to going to publishers. So Sukirti, from earlier where I was, probably what I wanted to bring in is, since many of the kids, I know from my experience of working with kids, I think many times the ideas center around food, because it comes very naturally to kids to innovate on food, right? They do these bite-sized snacks and cookies and cakes and nacho chips and wraps of so many types. They're just amazing ideas that children come up with. So I wanted to actually ask Gautam here, how did he think of doing a food business? Because not knowing Gautam's background as an entrepreneur, I know that he wasn't always in food business. So how did he happen to come to food business? What prompted? And what would you say are some of the good things and challenging things about running a food business today, Gautam?
Sure. Thank you, Vrunda. I think I'll probably start by disclosing something which most people would not have heard about my background. I first sold cakes when I was in college, where I used to buy cakes from a particular bakery in Madras, or Chennai as it is called, and selling it to all the other people in my hostel, right? So that was my first adventure of entrepreneurship, but ironically, it was also got to do with food and cakes, right? So, and today we are probably one of the largest online bakery brands in the country. So the brand is called Warm Oven. Some of you may have purchased from us, maybe others haven't, but we are a bakery brand which you can order from Swiggy, Zomato, etc. Right? With that advertisement, I'll just tell you a little bit about how we got started. I think you've touched upon some of these points during when you were speaking, right? We started small, first of all, right? Of course, we were not kids, but we were already grown-up adults. We started small. We were already employed. We were working somewhere else, but three of us started really small with, rather four of us started small with one location, and started preparing cakes from there. And it started from our own experiences in the past, where we realized that a cake typically is never consumed in a cake shop, right? If for all the kids here, I'm sure, I hope you all like eating cakes, but if you think about it, you would have never eaten a cake in a cake shop. More often than not, you would have eaten it at your home or a friend's home or some other venue, right? So that is how we started, by starting very small while we were still employed. So we provided our own seed capital, if you may. We had just one small location, and we experimented with the idea of delivering cakes to people. So that's how our journey began. So, I mean, maybe I'll take a few more minutes and tell you how the journey evolved from that point in time. Unless, Vrunda, you want to lead with a Q&A session.
No, I think please go ahead. It would be great to hear that journey.
Sure. Yeah, so, and before I do that, maybe, I don't know how many kids are there. I also just want to ask a question to the audience, which is in the chat window. I have a question. If you if you would like to invite a celebrity for your birthday, right, please feel free to type the name in the chat window, and I'd be keen to see who that celebrity would be. Right? And I'll come back to that, why I'm doing this exercise a little later. Go ahead and do that. I'll just take a break for 2 minutes. Okay, that's Soham Harry Styles. Okay, wow. I am definitely out of touch. I don't know who Harry Styles is.
Ratan Tata, wow. Oh, you are
Okay.
invited
No,
as well, Gautam.
Okay,
Because
great.
you should land with cake, though. That's the precondition.
I know. Anushka, that's a good answer. Although I am not a celebrity, I'll bring you a cake on your birthday. Elon Musk. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, it's interesting. A lot of entrepreneurs are the ones that these kids want to invite on their birthday.
Grandmother. Okay, nice. Yeah, I think let's give it a minute. Let everybody chime in, and then we'll get back to the theme of the event.
Amitabh Bachchan. Wow.
Virat Kohli.
Mm.
I would like to invite myself as a celebrity. Wow, nice. Mukesh Ambani, Bill and Melinda Gates, Narayan Murthy. These guys really love entrepreneurs.
Yes, they
Jeff
do.
Bezos, Warren Buffett. Sudha Murthy.
Wow.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites too.
These are all inspirational figures. I'm so glad to see what the kids are thinking, who the kids are thinking of.
Sundar Pichai, Sipping Thoughts
Kirti,
Founders.
you just
I'm
got
there.
invited.
I'm there. Whenever, please send me the invite. Ranveer, Ruskin Bond. Wow, very nice. Azim Premji. I think we're covering all the top industrialists also.
Yeah.
So Kirti Gupta, she's there. Let me tell you. Cake, one of my favorites. Donald Trump. Wow, interesting. Jack Ma, very nice. Kamala Harris. Ratan Tata.
Awesome. So Gautam, what does this say now?
No, I think it's very interesting, right? I think most people, like Sukirti just mentioned, this is a group of kids who really want to become entrepreneurs and are inspired by entrepreneurs. Majority of the responses are about entrepreneurs. I come back to that, but just going back to our own journey, I think, like I said, we funded our own seed capital. We started very small, and for almost 4 years, we did it on the side, if you may, right? For kids, basically take some money from your parents, go to school, continue to get educated, but run a small business on the side, right? But at some point along that journey, we realized that, hey, we may be onto something bigger. And that's when we started to scale up, right? Now, if I take a step back, I think, and link it back to what you were talking about, Vrunda, I think in any business journey, there are probably 3 phases, right? The idea, right? Back in 2013, we had an idea that we should be delivering cakes home. We validated that idea, make sure that enough people were buying the cakes from us, getting them home delivered, and were happy with it. From then it came the next phase, which is about trying to think about the complete product, right? Which is, how do you get orders? How do you make sure, where do you prepare the cakes? Where from there, how do you deliver the cakes? And then how do you get these customers to rate, review us so that more people know about it? And come back to us the next time around. Then comes the third stage, which let's say call it a business, right? Which is at which point in time you, from idea to a product, you move to a business stage where all the other things that you mentioned about, which is now you're doing it like a real business, which is you're doing it to make money. So how much does it cost you to prepare a cake? How much does it take you to deliver a cake? Are you going to make money on every cake? Now you also have to employ a lot of people. Will you make money as a company? And also, how do you get more and more people to know about you, right? These are all the questions that typically a business would need to answer, right? So this has been our journey over a period of 5 or 6 years in multiple phases, if I look back, right? But I think a couple of key things which you have mentioned, which I just want to kind of highlight one more time, is that entrepreneurship is a individual journey, right? It's about me or my co-founders and ourselves, right? We can't build a better Flipkart, or we can't build a better Book My Show, right? But we can definitely build the best warm oven or best Kouzina. So it's all about you as an individual. Second is, I think you mentioned the idea of a muscle memory for entrepreneurship, right? A lot of times, I think all these names that came up in the chat window, right? We know when they are successful, but you do not know how many times they have failed, right? So entrepreneurship is the whole journey of doing those experiments, being afraid to fail, and in the hope that one of those experiments becomes successful, and putting in all the effort and hard work along the way, right? Success won't happen without the hard work, right? That's the second point. And the third point is, it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. I alone could not have created this company as it stands today. I've had the privilege of working closely with a number of entrepreneurs. If you ask any of them, they will acknowledge this, right? It is a team sport. It is not an individual. I mean, I use the word sport, but it's not about one individual. It is about the team, right? I saw that there's a question about from somebody that if I learned baking. No, I did not. I can make Maggie maybe with instructions, right? But I did not learn baking. But I knew that, or I and my co-founders knew that if we had to make a good cake, we had to have a great baker with us, right? So, and you have to, as you go through this journey, there will be a lot of unknowns, and you keep solving for those unknowns one step at a time. I think a parallel analogy, perhaps, which some of the kids would understand, is it is like a game, right? You're playing level 1. There are a certain set of problems or roadblocks you face. You solve that, you move to the level 2. The nature of the problems or challenges changes. You move to level 3. It keeps changing, right? But along the way, keep solving from them, solving for those problems. When you encounter them, you don't know what you're going to encounter.
I'm going to ask
Gautam, on
you a
that note,
question here, Gautam, also. Sorry, Vrunda. People always talk about passion, like it should be your passion. And when you're becoming an entrepreneur, it's that passion that drives you. So where was cake in this passion story?
Well, it tastes good, right? I think. I mean, what can be better than good food?
So your passion was for eating good food. Or was it really the business idea that clicked with you?
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, yes, it's the business idea. None of us came from the food industry. Of course, now we have a team of people who are experts in the food industry, but it was the business idea which kind of appealed to us.
Sorry, Vrunda, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just had a question on behalf of kids for them to understand what is this, scale of business, because they understand making cakes at home, right? So when you, let's say, are baking a birthday cake, you bake one cake at a time. If you're making cupcakes, maybe you make a batch of 12 cakes. Now, as a business, Gautam, how many cakes would you say you're delivering every month across all the cities that you're present in?
At this age, I've become a little weak at maths. I may have to use a calculator, but approximately, I would imagine about 50,000 cakes, 50,000 cakes. Yeah.
Imagine that. I mean, that's what I think I wanted the kids to just be able to visualize what it means to grow from a simple idea to a big business, right? When you can make a cake at home, and that sounds like a pretty simple thing. Many of you probably already love doing that as a hobby, but that's what happens when you convert that into a business. It is the scale that matters. Imagine 50,000 cakes every month, right? Just wanted to bring that angle in.
The other question I'm going to ask you, because I know this is the one that most of us grapple with, and you said you also did this, is you did it as a side business till finally you decided that, okay, possibly it's time to quit, because that is that juncture. Most of us like the safety and security of a job.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong to it, right? You've been an entrepreneur yourself, right? There's no right or wrong way of doing it, right? I think, like I said, it's an individual journey. Each successful entrepreneur or each successful startup has its own story, of how they may have evolved, right? So in our case, yes, I think we did it as a side business, if you may, for a period of time. But I don't know if that is the only way to do it, right? I think there are entrepreneurs that I know who just started after college or dropped out of college and have started it. So there's no right or wrong answer, wrong way to do it. I think once you have the idea, there will come a point when you will start feeling about the idea, which is you feel that if you don't do that, you are doing, let's say, some injustice to yourself. I think it's you will probably, I mean, worst case, you will be sleepless, but you will just feel it as an individual, right? That look, no, I have to do this, right? And it's an irrational choice sometimes. Most entrepreneurs are irrational, right? And because they are not afraid to fail.
Yeah, no, it is very tough. Like I said, I've also gone through many journeys, actually 3 failures. So I think only one success. So definitely can relate to the fact that it's not an easy journey. And the process you have to keep in mind is that something that you say, okay, I really do believe in this idea. But I want to come back to you, Nitin, and I want to get your chime in on this, because there's a lot of questions that come up in terms of what is a social entrepreneur versus what is a profit-based business, or are they both the same? So I mean, where is that line?
Very good question, Sukirti. Yeah, and social entrepreneurship actually is a broad-based term. At the very basic level, it's about using entrepreneurship skills to address a social cause. Now, social entrepreneurs typically they combine social issues with commerce so that they can improve the lives of the people that are connected to the cause. Social entrepreneurs, they don't measure their success in terms of profit alone. So they do go for profit, but they don't necessarily measure it in terms of profit alone. And success for them, it's all about having created an impact. In what way have they improved the world? So beyond this, broad-based definition, there are people who look at it differently. Some of them say that social entrepreneurship applies only to people that are using venture money and are working towards solving a problem by selling something to the consumers. Some others say that it's about solving a problem using grant or government money. They're also social entrepreneurs. So let me actually ask the audience here, our young audience here, if they are aware of any social entrepreneurs, to understand how they understand social entrepreneurship. Are you aware of any social entrepreneurs? You could chime into the chat box.
Nandini says yes. Nandini, we'd like to know.
So yeah, yes. Any examples?
I'm confused with it with an NGO.
Right, right.
I think that would be like me too.
Tell us, Satyaki. I think that's a good example.
Awesome. Okay. Princess
Nandini,
Diana?
Diana.
Right. You all heard about Mohammed Yunus, someone who's developed a micro lending platform? Anyone? Okay, so there's a difference between social entrepreneurship, a social enterprise, and a social business. Those are also three different concepts. Okay, we'll just basically briefly touch on these three. Anyone's heard about Malala?
Yes.
Yeah, but have you heard about Shiza Shahid? So Malala is not a social entrepreneur. Malala is a social worker, but Shiza Shahid, who manages Malala, is a social entrepreneur. Okay, so we'll come back to this. So I personally look at social entrepreneurship in a more broad sense. So for me, it's about creating a venture that solves a social problem. I mean, entrepreneurship is also similar, right? I mean, it's about creating a venture that solves a problem. So what is the difference? Solving a social problem, solving a problem, is that the only difference? So there is one fundamental difference here. The difference is that a social entrepreneur is not married to the solution. Unlike an entrepreneur. So when you start a venture as an entrepreneur, one is focused at looking at a problem. You say this is what I want to try and address, and this is the target segment that I am going to define the solution for. This is my business. So even if I'm baking, I'm starting with who I'm baking for, which is the price range that I want to start with, and then you try to come up with a unique solution where you also define a business model, and you try to have either a novel idea or something which is better than competitors. So you want to always do better than the competitors. You have a new idea, and you may even tweak your solution now and then, but you fiercely want to protect your solution. I have got some recipe for baking or some method, some process of baking, which I want to just keep to myself because that's what guarantees my success. A lot of people also build their intellectual property, around the uniqueness of their idea or solution. So again, I think I'd like to ask the audience if they've heard of this concept called intellectual property. No?
It's like how you're not supposed to copy in the test. Your answer is your answer. Your friend shouldn't copy your answer.
Okay, Dakshish has heard of intellectual property. Anyone else has heard of intellectual property? Okay. And anybody knows any business which is based on intellectual property, or any business that is using intellectual property?
All the tech startups, all the tech companies.
All the tech startups, all the pharmaceutical companies.
COVID vaccine.
COVID.
Yeah.
There is so much, like most of the valuable companies, Flipkart has immense amount of intellectual property built into it. Amazon has immense amount of intellectual property built into it. Any unique business which has got great valuation, is doing extremely well, is doing very well in stock markets, typically will have intellectual property built into it. Now, real estate will not have intellectual property built into it, but if someone is trying to sell real estate in a unique way, is probably got an algorithm based on which they are able to identify best customers for a particular kind of real estate. That would be an example of using intellectual property in business. So typically businesses, bank on this, normal entrepreneurs bank on this, whereas a social entrepreneur, the idea is that the social problem itself, the problem that you're trying to address is big, So here in our business, we are trying to look at it from a narrower range, but in social entrepreneurship, we are looking at the problem and trying to understand how big the problem is. And it is so big that the problem may not get resolved in one's own lifetime. And the problem itself benefits when more and more people are working with you on this. So you're not trying to protect it. So you're trying to say that if more and more people know about it, know about this particular problem, they try to devise their own solutions, it would actually benefit me. As against, in a normal business where you would say, I don't want competition, I want to do this alone, or I don't want to collaborate. But here is an opportunity as an entrepreneur where you are focused on that I want this problem solved, come what may. My solution may not be the best right now. I'm ready to give up my solution. I don't need to protect my solution. I can even share my solution with others, that others can critique the solution. So the obsession is with solving the problem. So you really find that, if this problem is not getting solved, I really want to devote myself to doing that. So that's the difference in social entrepreneurship versus normal entrepreneurship, other than trying to solve the problem, that, you're not fixated with your own solution. At the same time, the solution has to sustain itself. Whatever you come up with, it should run on its own. Either you're making enough money, enough profit so that it can run on its own, or you're getting, repeated grants. You've won enough people who admire you or want to support you so that it can continue to run. So if you started the business, you've got a grant that can sustain it for 6 months, and after those 6 months, you cannot sustain it any longer. That's not a good social entrepreneurship. So that's another consideration. Yeah, does that make things clear?
Yes, it does. I think Soham and some others are asking for still a little bit more clarity on what is intellectual property.
Okay, so intellectual property is an idea which is unique to you, which you've invested in. And because of that idea, you are able to, you're able to charge a premium on your service. Okay, which gives you an advantage over other people. So, in this particular case, Vrunda's book itself is an intellectual property. Okay, so she's invested into it. She's applied herself, and that becomes an intellectual property. A recipe could, which others are not allowed to copy.
Like the Coke recipe that we keep hearing about, right?
It's yes.
Somewhere that's their intellectual property of the formula that they use to make.
Absolutely. So I think another question that comes about is, why social entrepreneurship? Why is it even important? Why are people talking about it? So let me spend a couple of minutes and talk about that a little bit. Yeah. So the thing is that today's age, is already something where there's a rapid change that is happening in every which way. The technology, the society, the planet, everything is transforming at a dizzying rate. So actually, hold on. Let me go back a little. Let me ask you this. What was the does anybody understand what was the population? What's the population of the globe today? Please chime in. 7 billion. Okay. Okay, 7.8 billion. Very well. Awesome. Does anybody know what was the population of the world in, let's say, 1 AD? Like after BC when AD started, like 2000 years back. What was the population of the world then? Any idea? And okay, there'll be a reward for somebody who's able to guess that.
Yeah, it can be a nice cake.
Right.
I'm putting my guess in too.
Yes. Okay. Nice guess. Okay. No one's allowed to Google it, by the way. Because, I'm saying that because I think Dave is very close. Okay, Dave, you got it right. It's about 300. It's about 400 million. Okay. Any guesses what it was in, say, 500 AD? $500 AD, anybody? Okay, 2 billion. You think it was 2 billion? So from 400 million, what in 180 in 500 AD, how much would it have been? In about 500 years. Okay, it's okay. I'll come to that. Any guesses for how much it was in 1750 AD? About 250 years back. Okay, 3 billion. Okay, so here's a reality check. We had a population of about 400 million in 180. We had a population of about 450 or 400 to 450 million in 500 AD. We had a population of about 600 million in 1750 AD, which means throughout 1750 years, our population was almost static between 500 to 600 million. So when did we become 1 billion people? We became 1 billion people in 1830. When did we become 2 billion people? We became 2 billion people in 1930. When did we become 3 billion people? Yes, 1960. When did we become 7 billion people? 2011. The point I'm trying to make is that we have to imagine what has happened here. For about 1800 years, we have been the same amount of population. In about 200 years, we have become 20 times the population on the globe. Okay, similarly, what was the per capita income in 180? Any guesses? No guesses. Okay, let me tell you. In 180, the per capita income was, in USD terms, you could say about 400 USD. So it's about 30,000 rupees or thereabouts. 30,000 rupees per annum was the per capita income of the world. And same was the case in 1600 AD. 30,000 rupees per person. What does that mean? That there was no growth in population and there was very little growth in education and very little growth in income that happened in the world for about 1800 years. And then what is the per capita income today? Average per capita income of the world today? Any guesses? It's about 7,000 USD, which is about 5 lakh rupees. So from 30,000 rupees, we become 5 lakh rupees. Okay, and we are growing. What that indicates is that the population is growing at an exponential rate, and our incomes are also growing at an exponential rate. Absolutely exponential rate. And how is that even possible? How is that happening? That's happening because we've got major breakthroughs that have happened in technology. We've kind of figured out how to maximize from whatever resources you get, and more resources need to be there. So more and more resources need to be exploited. And where are all these resources coming from that are getting exploited? So these are the natural resources. So this is an age of economic growth where growth combined with rapid population growth, and this is causing a massive expansion and a massive increase of our impact on the planet. And our lives have become continuously dependent on this economic growth. If we were to stop growing economically, you know what's going to happen?
Go into a recession.
Yes, but the impact of that is going to be that people are going to start dying. People will start dying if we don't continue to grow, because we cannot sustain no growth. So great growth is absolutely required for us to sustain ourselves now. We cannot stop growing. But the way we are growing, what is the impact of that? So right now, what could be happening is, let's say a country is doing well. Okay, if a country is rich on average, but the wealth is such that there are very few people who are rich and there are most of the people that are poor. What do you think that's going to happen with that? What is the implication of some country where most of the people are poor, very few people are rich?
Civil unrest.
Right. What else?
So I think, some of the questions in terms of, I am understanding that maybe some of the kids don't understand per capita income in some of these.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, if there are very few people who are rich and most of the people are poor, this is going to lead to a lot of violence, civil unrest. And this kind of a growth, cannot stay. We cannot actually have a growth where there is, this kind of difference continues to grow. And then, we also have a world today where the wealth of 50% of the poor people, the poorest people, is equal to the wealth of 26 of the richest people. That's the kind of division between rich and the poor that exists in the world today. Imagine the wealth of 50% of the world is the same as the wealth of 26 of the richest people.
Understood, but how does that now come back to building social entrepreneurship?
It's completely linked. It is. Yeah, I'm just coming to that because it is linked to the fact that there is no other way out now. I mean, it's not that it's a nice to have thing. We cannot continue to grow like this, because if the world continues to grow the way it has been growing, you're going to have a lot of civil unrest. You're going to have a lot of violence, and also with the way we are exploiting our natural resources. The way we are destroying the oceans, with the way we are deforesting, our rainforests, with the way we are fundamentally changing the Earth's climate. To fuel the growth that we must have. If we don't have that growth, people are going to die. But if we continue to grow the way we are growing, again, we are going to die.
So it's become a necessity to really think about better ways to bring.
Absolutely.
And also in terms of its connection with entrepreneurship, everybody, what I also think is entrepreneurs basically focus on bringing innovation. I mean, we probably didn't speak about innovation enough in the earlier part of the session, but innovation is actually an integral aspect of entrepreneurship. By definition, every venture is new. Every entrepreneur brings his or her own new ideas to it. And that's where I think that combination of innovative solutions is what really fuels social entrepreneurship, because these problems are age old, right? The only way to kind of solve these problems is to bring new ideas. I think somebody had mentioned Elon Musk. What is Elon Musk doing today? He's looking at other planets. He's building electric vehicles to take care of carbon emissions. He's focusing on solar power. And we have so many other startups which are focused on solving these problems in a more sustainable way. And that's where I think social entrepreneurship really plays a big role. And I just wanted to give a very quick example of, how you all, children, can think of it. Because obviously, I mean, you cannot tomorrow hope to become Elon Musk suddenly building a great big plant, etc. But what can you do to become a social entrepreneur? So if you have an idea, like for example, what do you do with your books at the end of the school year? Can you think of some cool new way of recycling it? Can you make some things out of it? Simple ideas like that. I know another young entrepreneur who has started a startup that focuses on conserving water. Just going to restaurants and saying, can you serve half a glass full of water instead of full? Because many times, as we know, we just leave water in the glass and that all goes waste. So simple ideas like that can become a seed for social entrepreneurship for you all. So one thing about entrepreneurship is the problems may look big, but you have to break it down into smaller things, because like I said earlier, doing is important. And you can only do things when you bring them in a manageable bite, right? Like if you have a big pizza like this, you're not going to eat the entire pizza in one bite. What do? You break it up into pieces. You go one by one. Similarly, break down the problem, take one bit at a time, work on it. Whether you are more, let's say some of you are more passionate about climate, somebody is very passionate about water, somebody really wants to focus on air quality, or maybe you want to focus on reuse, recycle. Some of you may want to work with, let's say, education for others, or something to do with, better digital skills. Maybe you have house help coming to your house and they don't understand how they can use internet, teach them. There's just so many ways that you can start working towards these solutions. And I think the larger framework for thinking that Nitin provided just now is just awesome, just fantastic. Use that to see what is the problem that you want to focus on. And it can even turn into an actual venture for you. So it could just become like a startup that teaches digital skills, how to use mobile skills. Maybe even your grandparents struggle with mobile skills, how to use Zoom calls, right? So anything can turn into an idea if you bring together innovation and execution.
Very
So I
well
think I
said.
just
Thank
wanted
you.
to have
Yes,
that.
yes, Sukriti.
There are a lot of I think the questions are pouring in, and we also have the two people, or actually three people, that are going to do their pitches for us. So I'd like to
Yes.
hear from them. So the first one is Dev Shukla. Let's go ahead, hear from Dev. Dev, I'm asking you to unmute and then to show him.
Yeah, yeah, I'm audible.
Yes, you
Yes.
are. Dev, do you have your camera on? So great.
So yeah, okay. So should I
Awesome.
start?
Yes, please. Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself before you start also.
Okay. Yeah. So hi, I'm Dev Shukla. I'm in 10th standard in Modern School, Barakama Road, and today my pitch is it's related to a company that's based on educational the lines. So yeah. So imagine a society in which every person knew how to manage their finances. According to a survey, 90% of the Indian education system is theoretical and monotonous, and there is an absolute dearth of practicality. We at Excel Training aim to bridge the gap between the problems of reality and the formal teaching in context of finance. Our initiative includes bettering the inquisitive young minds through a comprehensive and practical technique to create awareness regarding important life topics such as financial independence, working of the commercial market, managing of finances, shares, stocks, and many other aspects that would help these future minds develop a financial aptitude. And if people want, I can further explain it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for you now.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was excellent. What
Right.
is the age group that you are targeting for this application?
Yeah, so it's like, as I mentioned in my pitch, we are actually targeting the young minds because I personally
What is
believe
the
that
age of the young minds? I'm curious.
it's from eighth class till 12th class, and then there's a separate course for the college students as well, because I recognize the difference between both of them, because college students have somewhat financial independence. They get somewhat financial assistance, but on the other hand, the school students don't have that type of independence. So there will be separate courses for both of them. And of course, there will be another course that's a bridge course for the people, for all people of all ages, who can take up these courses, because it's the harsh truth of our society is that there's a very large percentage and proportion of women, and not even women, men as well, who are not aware about the financial aspects of their life. So yeah, these would be the three main courses.
I really like how you've thought about different courses for different age groups, recognizing that they will
Yeah.
have different needs. That's awesome.
Right.
Gautam, your thoughts?
No, I think I tend to agree with what Vrunda just said, which is focusing on a specific target audience makes the proposition much more clear and crisper. I think, especially when you are starting off, it's very important to have that clarity of thought in terms of what is the idea and who is your customer, right? So that focus
Target
becomes
audience.
very important.
Nitin, your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, Dave and I did discuss this before, so I completely agree with the idea that he's got. I think there is also a possibility of building something for even younger kids. So there's an opportunity for people to get sensitized about financial literacy even at a younger age, maybe at grade 3 or 4 or 5.
So great. I think, Dave, all of us agree and concur that, listen, there is a real need possibly, and financial literacy is one of those subjects that possibly is not taught well in school, and supplementation,
Right.
supplemental education.
That was one of the main.
Yeah. So kudos to you and best of luck. And we will be giving you one of Vrinda's books. So please do follow through on that. Thank you very much.
And my suggestion is go figure out if 30 people will sign up for your course and get back to us on how how well that goes.
Fantastic. Shoham is
I
next.
think till that point in time, it's just a great idea. Get 10 people or 30 people to sign up for your course.
Shoham, go ahead. Looking forward to hearing from you.
So I am Soham Gupta, studying in 8th grade of a renowned school, DPS. And I have been using social media a lot from the past year and have been working on a brand of my dad's on Instagram. And there are two steps on which you need to grow on Instagram or social media and in real life, in fact. First, you make content. Allow me to rephrase. Firstly, you make something which satisfies a need, makes life easier, or fixes a problem. Put your soul and effort on it, making it perfect. And when you're finally satisfied by what you've built, pitch it to someone. Or as in today's world, you market it. There is no escaping from marketing, as if you want something from someone, you have to market what's in it for them. What will happen if they buy your product? What will happen? What's good for them in investing in you? And marketing is a very tedious and exhausting task, as going to everyone, each and every person you see, and saying the same thing over and over again. And as for social media, sharing it again and again, all in hope that someone will like your post, hopefully comment, maybe save it so that the algorithm remembers that you like this type of content, and the hardest, give you a follow. I've been through this while helping my dad, and on Instagram, there are engagement groups where people help mutually by, uh, suppose I like your post, comment, and save, and you do that the same for me. And it's harder than it sounds because some people are into 30 groups with about 30 people each, and roughly about 900 posts a day, commenting, saving, and liking. It's a tedious task. And so while I was at it on a day, I thought of Combine, which is an Instagram marketing apparatus. The Combine can like, comment, and save on an Instagram post, which is all IG marketing is about. And the more you do this, and the more people notice you, and more you grow, and more are the business opportunities. And it's an external device which gets onto your phone and reduces your effort on marketing, so you can focus more on your product and reaching every part of it to perfectionism.
Well, thank you. That was very interesting. I mean, and I do concur with you that, I mean, of course, Instagram is becoming the soul and the heart for many businesses, and we're constantly looking for new and new tools that will help us, I mean, to actually reach out to more and more people. So, yes, I mean, I think anything that can, because Instagram has become very critical in that marketing equation. Vrunda, from you, what are your thoughts?
I think really awesome, because I think what this idea is actually going through the pain. So empathy towards the customer. It shows that you really understand the pain point of your customer and you're trying to address that. Fantastic.
How about you, Gautam?
No, I tend to concur with Vrunda. I think, of course, I do know Soham. I think he understood the pain point because he has experienced it, and now he's come up with a solution which can solve it for not just for his dad's business, but the rest of the world. I think, and he's also trying to simplify something which is generally tedious and monotonous and difficult task, right? And I'm sure there will be a lot of customers for it. It's just that he has to find the first 5 customers.
I like that.
He has
That's
one
what
here.
practical advice is that first find those first 5 customers, those first people that will say, yes, you know what, I'm ready. I'm ready to use this. Or what about you, Nitin?
Yeah, so I again feel that, although this is not a social project, but the trait that he's demonstrating, Soham, about really investing into understanding the problem is one of the key traits of doing well for a social project as well. To actually spend a lot of time in figuring out what the problem is before you come up with the solution. So kudos.
Thank you.
Soham, good luck to you. And I like the fact that, especially that you've been working on this, and this is something that you have experienced in real life. I too feel the pain every day. Thank you very, very much, and good luck to you. The next one we're going to take from Anushka. Anushka, I'm just going to ask you to unmute.
My name is Anushka Jolly. Hello, all. I'm the founder and CEO of Anti-Bullying Squad. Anti-Bullying Squad is a social, tech-based initiative against bullying. We aim to reduce bullying in schools and campuses by taking group sessions for schools and NGOs, sharing individual experiences, and spreading awareness about it. So we have a website, www.antibullying.squad.com, and on our website, you can take the anti-bullying pledge and get a free band, learn about bullying, buy our merchandise, and read our blogs. And also, schools and students can register for sessions. So, we take group sessions where we educate students about bullying for schools, and counseling sessions where I counsel students who are involved in bullying. We also need funding because we want to hire trainers who can actually go to the schools and take sessions for students. And we want to create a subscription model on my website to make my venture scalable. Thank you.
Wow, very nice, because I know bullying is one of those big concerns. But Anushka, question for you. So is your business model more that you will be charging for the training and you will be also charging for the merchandise? Is that where the revenue model, and that is what will make this run by itself in a couple of years?
You're
Anushka?
on mute, Anushka.
Yeah. We earn revenue from merchandise, but when we take counseling sessions for students who are getting bullied, it's free of cost, and even the group sessions, they're also free of cost. So when I talk about the subscription model, obviously, I need more money to make my venture scalable, to scale it over the coming years. So which is why I want to create a subscription model on my website, so that it's easier to contact schools and also get the payment.
Vrunda, your thoughts?
No, I think this is definitely, like you said, Sukirti, it's a good problem to solve because it is an important problem to solve, I would say. And the way you have thought about it and the way you have been going about solving it, addressing this problem, Anushka, is really awesome. I just have a slight concern on like what Sikirti also, I think, kind of pointed out on that monetization model. But I think essentially the idea is great. Probably a little bit of tweaking might be required around how the money will come and how the venture can become sustainable. But other than that, I think really an awesome project.
Gautam, how about you?
Hey, I think first of all, congratulations on the idea, Anushka. It's a real problem. As a parent, I can understand the problem, and it's a real need, right? So you're solving a real problem that everybody encounters, or some people encounter, right? My only point of view is that the business model, how you make money, etc., you will discover it, right? If you are really solving somebody's problem, at some point in time, people will pay for it, right? So just focus on making sure that the solution is good and solving the needs of a certain customer base. Over time, you will figure out how to make money out of them, right? Yeah, and by the way, if you are finding it hard to get people to go through the counseling sessions, I think we can throw in a cake as an incentive.
Wow.
That's very nice. Nitin, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I agree with Gautam. I think the monetization aspect can always be worked out. But I think what Anushka can think about further is how to scale it up. What is she going to scale up? How is it going to become scalable? How more and more people can enter this venture, because there is a lot of scope for such an idea to grow. So I think she's already given it a start, and now is the opportunity for her to look at the model to scale up.
Fantastic. Thank you. I mean, I really think it is the need of the hour. You've hit on something that probably almost everybody is saying. I wish we could figure out how to solve this, because bullying is one of those big issues that most parents are also realizing, and most kids are at some point in their time are facing. So good luck with this. I'm going to take some questions. We have a lot of them. So I'm going to ask Yashwin first to go ahead.
Oh, hello. I have a question. Like, I want to ask a question from Nitin, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
So,
ahead, Yashwin.
what piece of advice would you give to high schoolers who want to become a social impact entrepreneur? How can we start now?
Yeah. What Brinda also said, start small. Have a problem, have something that worries you, that, and something that is not there for a day, something that worries you for some time, that, you're sure this is a problem that you want to address. And then think about the possible solution, think about its feasibility and pilot it. Develop the muscle to actually try and solve it. Okay, and then over a period of time, you will figure out how to keep it sustainable, how to make it sustainable, how to get it to expand, and address the challenges that anybody doesn't want you to do this or doesn't want you to become an entrepreneur. Tell them that this is part of growing up. This is very important for you to develop the skills of the future. And I think if you give it a start, if it scales up, then on its own it's going to grow.
Oh, thank you. The next question we'll take from Avni, sorry. Go ahead,
Avni.
Avni.
So, hi, my name is Avni, and my question is for Nitin. So, I'm interested in creating social impact, but how do I turn it into entrepreneurship and make a living out of it?
Do you have an idea on what you want to work on?
Not really.
So, I think important thing is first you have an idea and invest time in understanding what is that problem that you want to solve, because it's not difficult, trust me, to get support, to get it monetized if you're solving a genuine problem. If it's a social problem, you could get support in the form of grants also. You could get support from the government also, other NGOs also, CSR funding also, and also consumers. So you can get a lot of support. The important thing is first to understand what is it that bothers you, what is the problem that you want to try and solve, and come up with a solution that makes sense. And that's going to require, exercising those muscles, developing those muscles that Vrinda's been talking about.
Also, in terms of support, I'm just adding a small point here. Actually, in the book also, I have given a list of resources that children specifically can go to. Those who are interested in entrepreneurship of any kind. There are some interesting programs and resources. There are organizations that run programs on entrepreneurship for children. You will find the list of resources there. I think that will definitely come in handy for everyone.
We'll be taking the next question from Abhishek. Abhishek, go ahead.
Hello.
Oh, there's a lot of traffic in the background.
Nitin sir, that who has been their inspiration in the area of social impact?
I think this, in terms of not social entrepreneurship, if you talk about social impact, Mahatma Gandhi, because he understood. So the way he's gone about his life was also by investing himself into really understanding what India is, and then try to do something about it.
Dipanshi had a question. Dipanshi, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am, I have a question from Nitin, sir.
Go ahead.
As an entrepreneur, social entrepreneur, how can I get investments?
So Dipanshi, there are many ways to get investment as a social entrepreneur. There are now a lot of impact funds where the focus is on giving you venture capital as a social entrepreneur. So they look at what kind of scalability or sustainability that you have in your project. So that's of course available. The same way as you would go for a non-social entrepreneurship, the similar sort of funding models are available. But alternate to that, you also have funding opportunities in the form of grants that a lot of organizations, international organizations, Indian organizations, Indian government, Delhi government, are happy to extend to you. And to start with, I think the best way to do it is with the family and friends. Start small, get some support, see how it works, and then there'll be a lot of support coming. Important thing again is you should have a passionate problem that you want to solve.
Well, we always have passionate problems because there are lots of them to solve. That's the good news. I mean, I think we keep looking at new and new ages. I mean, we didn't know in COVID, there was so much innovation that I've seen that have come out from this crisis. So it's been amazing me. And I'm sure that, as we look at new ways of doing things, there's going to be a lot of innovation. But as always, we run out of time. So I'd like for each of you to give your 30-second closing remarks. So Vrunda, starting with you, then of course, Gautam, and then Nitin. Go ahead.
First of all, I think, thanks to everybody for this great session. I think I really enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much for organizing it, Sukirti. I hope you all had a good time. And like I said, no idea is small idea. I mean, you just have to start at small, but then it can always grow big. So look all around you. You will find many things that you can do. You can experiment with. Don't worry about whether it's going to work or not. Nobody knows. Right? The only way to know is to try and do it. So go ahead, do it. Like Nike says, just do it.
Thank you. Gautam?
First of all, I think very engaging session. I enjoyed the questions. Thank you for having me, and I hope all the kids learned something. I just want to touch upon a couple of points, which I think through the course of the last 1.5 hours, we have not spoken about. When you're starting off, a lot of entrepreneurship is about selling your idea, right? Clearly explaining what you want to do, right? And establishing that clarity of thought. Now, I'll go back to the exercise which I started with, the celebrities that you want to invite to your birthdays, right? We can, I would like to see from each of you, right? If you have to sell the idea of inviting a Ratan Tata or a Elon Musk to your birthday, send it in 100 or a 200 word letter or an email that you would write to them. I'll type in my email ID in the chat window. I'd like to look at that. And it is about selling yourself, right? Why would you want Elon Musk to come and attend your birthday party? It is almost the same as selling your anti-bullying idea or the Instagram bot or the financial education idea, etc. So you should not be ashamed of selling yourself or your credibility or your idea, but it has to be very clearly articulated, right? And that's the reason why I started with that exercise. If you have to invite a celebrity to your birthday, who would that be? And now imagine you are writing to that celebrity in 100 or 200 words. Please write to me. I would like to see how you're going to sell that idea. And that is perhaps one of the most important skills for any entrepreneur, right? Because till you become a big company, nobody is going to believe you. Nobody is going to trust you. You have to sell the idea to people. Right?
Very nice. Very nice.
I look forward to all the sales pitches to Ratan Tatas and Elon Musks of the world. And the best 3 sales pitches, we're happy to we'll send you a cake. And perhaps from the best bakery in the country, right?
Yes.
Please share it. I'm looking forward to it. And by the way, I am doing the selling for the last 1.5 hours, right?
Yes.
I don't stop. When I'm given an opportunity, I am plugging in my bakery, my cake, right? That is an important skill for most of you.
So let me
allowed to participate?
thoughts also the best media company that's out there. Over to you, Nitin.
I'm glad I was able to change it to say that.
Consider yourself sold, Gautam. I think great inputs, great ideas, and it was also a very engaging session, Vrunda. I loved the content of your book, your ideas on entrepreneurship. So I just want to also wrap up by talking a little bit about us. At Orion Square, our mission is to develop conscious global citizens of the world. So through our programs, we are fostering social entrepreneurship, by building an awareness and understanding about the sustainable development goals and cultivating the life skills that one learns as an entrepreneur: self-belief and self-awareness, problem solving and critical thinking, creativity and innovation, patience and perseverance. And students have done such interesting projects with us over the last couple of years, like trying to solve the issue of malnutrition through education, supporting the LGBTQI community, training them to become better models, educating the elderly through digital literacy, social inclusion of the underprivileged, and so many more. So there are great opportunities for you all to also, develop some sort of skills. Do get in touch with us. I will also put in my email ID in the chat box. Feel free to touch base with us. We are shortly going to be starting some free of course awareness programs around SDGs for all schools. Hopefully we'll be in touch with your schools as well.
Wow, fantastic. That was a brilliant session. Thank you, Vrunda. Thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Nitin. And coming to you from the best media company on the internet. So do follow Sipping Thoughts. And if you haven't done so, please go to our Instagram, sipping.thoughts.com. And with that, I wish you all a very, very good night.
Thank you so much, everybody.